Looks like Zach Lavine is still going to be on the trade market during the offseason this year, as reported by Bleacher Report. Let's dig into that a little more right after this. Listen, if you are new to the channel, this is the Chicago Bulls Breeze. We appreciate all of you all who support. Please like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. You know what we get into. Let's get into this topic. How about that? Zach Lavine has not dodged the trade bullet at all. Realistically, reports are saying that the Chicago Bulls are going to still explore a trade for him this offseason, and rightfully so. I have to be honest with you. It's come to a point where we all realize this is just not going to work. And while I am of the I am on two sides of this camp. I do believe that this could have worked out with a better coach. I do feel like this is a situation that would have developed if they've given it time with a better coach. And I also think that this was a situation that could develop if they actually had DeMar take a step back, just like we want to see him do with Kobe White. But that's not what happened. And in reality, what I want doesn't matter. What most of you fans probably want don't matter. But what is developing now is Kobe White is coming into its own, and we are now seeing something that we haven't seen before. We're now seeing finally a pick for that there's someone that Chicago has actually drafted kind of develop. And that's actually a very interesting thing, considering that we are always under the elk or the impression that we just don't develop players. And for the most part, we really haven't. If you really look at the people who are skilled on our team, most of them that we depend on weren't drafted by Chicago, didn't develop in Chicago. Zach, you can kind of say when he wasn't drafted by Chicago, you could probably argue that he was developed. I would argue against that. DeMar definitely wasn't drafted, nor did he develop here, and Vooch absolutely didn't as well. Our key players hadn't. But Kobe White emerging, well, he is someone that Chicago Bulls drafted. He is someone that's developed here, even under some very let's just call it stressful circumstances. And he's starting to blossom. He's coming into his own. And he's had one of the biggest leaps, definitely MIP worthy, most improved, worthy in his career production, points per game, and things of that nature. He's having career highs in multiple categories. And this is all happening at a time when Zach Lavine's injured. So he's doing exactly what you want to happen. All that all that says and all that adds up to is there's probably not a need for Zach Lavine on the Chicago Bulls. He's probably going to be looked at as more of a distraction than not. And while I don't think that's necessarily fair, it just is what it is. Now, what teams are going to need him? I think this is actually interesting. I think this is a better situation for Zach. This is a better situation for the Bulls than it was at the trade deadline, simply because once the season is over, teams are going to be very conscious and know exactly what they need, exactly where they went wrong, and exactly what holes they need to plug on their team and their rosters. And since the trade deadline, I have to tell you, there are some teams that could use a Zach Lavine. I'm not going to sit here and make it seem as if Zach Lavine going to the Sacramento Kings would not have made sense, would not have worked. He would have fit on the Kings. He would have. I like Malik Monk. I like what Monk brings to that table. But Monk isn't Zach Lavine. He's not even close. He's streaky. He is J.R. Smith. Very streaky, can get you a bucket at any given time, but he is not Zach Lavine. Now, Zach Lavine could probably be considered streaky, but has been a little more consistent as of late. And I will say that where his game is going, it would be nice to see how he would fit in that. I think he provides something that they need, especially down the stretch. Most people in the Chicago Bulls will hate the fact that he takes these pull-up threes, but he hits them at a really high clip. You can't fault a player for actually doing what he does if he does it well. And Zach Lavine, when he's on, and you can't take that away from him. And so Zach Lavine is going to have some suitors this particular offseason because now that the dust is settled and people are kind of getting into their groove and stuff like that, it's probably going to work out. The Miami Heat, love what they did with Terry Rozier. They need a Zach Lavine. I understand it's looked up for him in some cases, and they do look better in some spots. But I do watch some games and be like, you know what, that third scorer would be look real good right there. And real that third dynamic scorer who can create off the dribble, who can actually hit, who's also a multi-level scorer, would look real good right there. Yep, That's probably what they're missing. And it's not as if they don't have talent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and besmirch these teams. They're working with what they have and they're doing what they can. But there's Zach Lavine has a unique skill set that fits uniquely on these two individual teams. And some people are going to disagree with that, and that's fair. The Warriors are always a team that needed something. Zach Lavine would have fit on that team easily because, again, he would be able to do physically what Clay can't do anymore. I know he's not the same defender Clay was, but Clay ain't even half what he was. And so there's some teams that would use him. There's some teams that need him, and he's going to have a home. And at this point, it's not a matter of if, it's almost a matter of when for some of these things, because I don't expect Zach Lavine to be on the floor in a Bulls jersey for the 2024-2025 season. And as a Zach fan, that hurts to say, but the reality is, it is what it is. So at this point, expect that to happen. Expect those things to hit the rumor mill as we get further and further into this season, as we maybe not make our playoff run, and ultimately as we get into closer to the draft and things of that nature, you can expect Zach Lavine to actually be moved on. And again, it was probably a long time coming. It is a sad thing to say, but it is what it is. We have to move on, and hopefully we get a nice compensation, good compensation for him, because that's what we really need. And if you look at what we need now, we still need 3-point shooters. I love Alex Caruso. He doesn't. We still need 3-point shooters. Javon Carter has been trash. I don't know why we thought that was a good idea, but that man has been trash. Doodle water. It doesn't even matter. Just stop it. We need help there. But ultimately, that's a problem that we're going to have to fix 6 months down the line. But until then, let's just keep it rocking with the rest of the season. We have had some trash games lately, but we've had some upticks as well. Next video, we're going to talk about our chances within the play-in and playoff potential and see where we can go from there. Whether it's left or the say, put it in the comments. I'll be in there with you. Till next time. Peace.